Okay, kind of continuing on with analysis with Dr. Phil and Burke Ramsey. So here we go.
Yeah, I remember the viewing. I remember the casket was small and her eyes were closed. I think one of her eyes was a little bit like droopy or something. And I thought that was weird.
How did you feel seeing her?
A lot of sadness. I don't think I really fully grasped. Like after this, I won't see her again.
Okay, so when he says viewing, he's talking about the open casket, that sort of little private portion prior to like the service.
I remember my parents being really upset. I remember my dad leaning down and giving her a kiss.
Did you have anything to say to her when you saw her?
I remember the casket was small and her eyes were closed. I think one of her eyes was a little bit like droopy or something. And I thought that was weird.
How did you feel seeing her?
A lot of sadness. I don't think I really fully grasped. Like after.
Got to give a huge shout out to Super Genamo for the big love. Really appreciate you for the love. Thank you. Got to give you a big hug. Hope all is well with you, and I appreciate your support. I really do, and I hope you enjoy the next video. So let's go.
For this, I won't see her again. I remember my parents being really upset. I remember my dad leaning down and giving her a kiss.
Did you have anything to say to her when you saw her in her casket?
I just kind of stood there, I guess, in kind of disbelief. Or I don't remember if I put anything in it.
Was it traumatizing to see her?
That was weird. That was traumatizing a little bit. Had I ever been to a funeral before, period? I'm not sure.
Who was with you when you were standing?
You had an opportunity to go to one. Beth died in 1992, January 8th of 1992. Both he and JonBenet would have been able to attend. Maybe not JonBenet, but Burke, if that's your half sister. And the family was as close knit as. Anyways.
Standing and viewing her.
Me and my mom and my dad.
How were they behaving?
You could tell my dad loved my sister a lot. And they're both crying, just saying goodbye, I guess.
In the days after the funeral, as a 9-year-old watching your parents go through this, were you concerned about your mother?
I don't think I was thinking about it that in depth. I think I was just wanting people to be not sad, but she would cry, and then I think she would like maybe fall asleep or something, and then she'd start crying again. They'd tell me to come upstairs and comfort her.
The police cannot force someone to talk. There are several key people investigators would like to question. Tops on the list, John and Patsy Ramsay, as well as their son Burke. All three talked with detectives early in the investigation, but recently they refused to take any more questions. Questions the police want answered.
During the course of this case, we can point to many things that the Ramseys did wrong, but you can also point at horrible things that the police did. Within a day or two after this tragic death, John Ramsey, who has every right to take the body of his daughter back to Atlanta and bury her. But the police hadn't gotten the type of interviews that they felt they wanted or maybe should have had. So the head of the detectives, John Eller, threatens and says, I'm not going to release the body unless you give me the interviews. The district attorney, Alex Hunter.
It's my understanding that Detective Eller has that right. The body is taken as part of evidence. It's my understanding the body is taken as part of evidence. They don't have to give you that body because they're still investigating on the body.
They almost killed him. Constitutionally, he can't do it. This is exactly the problems that started to build between the police and the Ramseys, which made the Ramseys more defensive, made the police more aggressive. And in the middle of it is Alex Hunter and his team trying to figure out, is there probable cause?
No, sir. No, sir. That's not at all what made the Ramseys more defensive. The Ramseys were already defensive. They were defensive on the 26th when the Boulder Police Department didn't move on fast enough. And we thought it was okay that you looked at us, but didn't move on. That's when the Ramseys, if the Ramseys, if what the cops did made the Ramseys, that's laughable. If to say that anything that the cops did made the Ramseys more defensive, if what the cops did influenced the Ramseys' behavior, then the Ramseys would have been reacting, and those interviews would have taken place a lot earlier because the Ramseys would have gotten in. Because what's his name? Mike Bynum was already at the house saying, no, this is what we're not going to do. I'm going up there with the Ramseys, and we're going to go, and I'm going with them so they can take, or give these hair and blood samples. That's where we were. The Ramseys were already offended that the fact that the cops didn't move on. That's what they were offended at. It had nothing to do with the cops.
Were the Ramseys involved?
America is suffering because they have lost faith in the American family.
You went on CNN with Patsy, and how did that go?
That was the last thing that we wanted to do, but our friends were really pressuring us to do that. They saw this tide flowing against us and this swelling of suspicion, I guess, and they said, no, you've got to do an interview. You got to go on television. You got to show who you are.
There was no tide. There was none. The investigation had just started. He's talking about when they first went on CNN. That was the first. That was like 2 days after the funeral. The freaking JonBenet wasn't even buried yet. There was no tide.
And that'll stop this.
I will tell my friends to keep your babies close to you.
As you look back on that, was that a mistake?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, for several reasons. One, it served no purpose. We're I'm sure in a state of shock. And secondly, once you participate in the public arena, you become a public figure.
Nearly a week later, crime scene investigators are still combing through the home. Police haven't named any suspects, but curiously, they are saying that the public at large is not in any danger, that there is not a random killer on the loose.
It didn't help the Ramseys' image that they stopped cooperating with the police. The police went public right after the first CNN interview that John and Patsy gave.
That there is not a random killer on the loose.
It didn't help the Ramseys' image that they stopped cooperating with the police. The police went public right.
Who's that? Who's that right there? Who is that? Steve Thomas. So when they went on Larry King live and John was talking all that trash about where Steve Thomas wasn't and was not, Steve Thomas right there.
Right after the first CNN interview that John and Patsy gave. There's a bad guy out there roaming the streets. It wasn't convincing. And the police had a press conference and said, don't worry, there's no bad guy out there.
Trust me.
People in Boulder have no need to fear that there is someone wandering the streets of Boulder looking for young children to attack.
It was easier for people to believe the Ramseys were involved because that meant there is no bad guy walking around.
Are you?
That doesn't, there's no. Just because I can say that there was no bad guy involved, and I could also say that, or I can say that there's no bad guy walking around, and I can also say that the Ramseys weren't involved. I can say both, because there could be somebody that they know, or there could be somebody, maybe something happened. Maybe there was an accident that happened. I can say that, and the Ramseys be sort of exonerated or not included in that statement. So I don't have to believe that the Ramseys did it in order to say that there's no bad guy at large. And it has nothing to do with trying to force blame on the Ramseys for me to say all of the evidence that we've seen so far early in this case seems to point internally. There's nothing wrong with saying that.
You aware of these different theories that are out there? Theories that you killed your sister, theories that your mother killed JonBenet, and theories that an intruder killed JonBenet. Those seem.
So when he asked him, did he kill JonBenet, he kind of sort of, it was like a swipe of the tongue closer to his bottom jaw. Almost like, I would read that emotion almost like the nerve of you people.
For theories that are out there.
Yeah.
Theories that you killed your sister, theories that your mother killed JonBenet, and theories that an intruder killed JonBenet. Those seem to be the three camps that people talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we were suspects. I didn't know they were camps, I guess.
And these are people that post online. The shorthand is RDI, Ramsey did it, IDI, the intruder did it, or BDI, Burke did it. Do you know the theories that...
I don't like this.
He did it, IDI, the intruder.
When his eyes shot back and forth like that, obviously there's a level of discomfort there. But I'm not understanding what that's related to.
Did it, or BDI.
And it is like his cheekbones appear like, it's like he's wincing in pain at times. Almost like it hurts to hear it. Like he's like doing that. Like it's very subtle, but you could see his cheeks like kind of digging in like that.
Burke did it. Do you know the theories that they set forth in saying that your mom killed JonBenet?
I don't know the details, but I know the ransom note, they think the handwriting match.
Have you seen it? Have you read it?
I don't think I've read the whole thing. I've definitely seen pictures of it, though.
Did the handwriting look familiar to you at all? Had you seen it ever before?
No. I feel like the listen carefully is very distinct, and I've never really seen that. I don't know. I've never really looked at it closely because I'll see it and kind of get taken aback, and it's not something I really want to look at like a lot, you know?
Right. Does that look like her handwriting?
Honestly, looking at that, she would always bug me about having good handwriting, and she would like make me rewrite stuff to try to get me to have good handwriting. And I think it's too...
Dr. Phil is like, answer the question.
Too sloppy.
The police became convinced very quickly that either both of the Ramseys or one of them was responsible for this, and that Patsy wrote the ransom note.
Sources also say the writer of the note appeared to have been a woman, and there was deception in the printing style. Certain letters were also disguised in what sources say was an attempt to confuse police. The father has been ruled out as the author of the note, but police have requested a fifth handwriting sample from the mother.
Let me just say, let's, if you've been watching me for a little bit, let me just say how it continues to happen. Like, I don't care what you do. Every single time the Ramseys are like, get away from me. Stop saying it's me. Stop talking about me. And it's like, it doesn't matter who. Doesn't matter who looks at it. Every single time people trail away, and then they circle right back on around to the Ramseys with little things that have nothing to do with the Ramseys. You know what I mean? Like, man, it looks like there's a little bit of deception in this handwriting. Looks like it's a woman. And then we go and look at the DNA, and it's like, well, it looks like Patsy and Burke's fingerprints are on this. or their DNA is on this. And then you kind of go look at the pineapple bowl in the tea glass, and Patsy's fingerprints are on that too. Like some of the most important things. Burke is like, oh, I got back up. You guys, your fingerprints or your DNA is all over the Barbie nightgown, which was a key piece in JonBenet's death. So it's just like, and then the handwriting. We can rule out John. John continues to get ruled out just like that. But we always, when we come to Patsy and Burke, we always struggle. We struggle bad when it comes to ruling them out, because we're like, oh, people are like, just leave the family alone already. And like, we try to like rule them out, but then there's something that catches you and you're like, but I can't because of this. That means something. That's been consistent.
JonBenet.
Now, I'm going to ask you to look at the handwriting beneath the document, and I'm going to ask you if you recognize that handwriting. I do not. Would it be your wife's handwriting? I don't recognize it. It doesn't look like Patsy's writing. It's sloppy. It's irregular. I would not look at that and say that's Patsy's handwriting.
See, Ramsey gives a handwriting sample. Patsy cannot be 100% excluded, but they can't prove it's her handwriting. That, of course, makes the police even more suspicious.
The law enforcement handwriting experts had concluded that on a 1 to 5 scale, 5 being elimination, didn't write it, Patsy Ramsey was scored at between 4 and 4.5, virtually eliminated.
But that's not elimination. Number one. Number two, in that deposition that you just saw, which was for Darnay Hoffman, I believe, Darnay Hoffman, but it was for Chris Wolf. Somebody said 4.5. And then Alex Hunter came back and recorrected and said, I would say closer to a 4. So he like pulled it closer to a 1.
But they couldn't eliminate her. They should have, but they couldn't, because if you eliminate Patsy, then you have totally blown out of the water the Boulder Police Department's theory that they went with, that it had to be John. Nope, we decided it's not John, so it must have been Patsy.
And that's why you no longer are able to practice law anymore, because of that line of logic.
My theory is quite simple. Whoever authored the ransom note killed the child.
Your contention is she wrote the note.
I do.
You must have conjured something in your head for you to come out and call me a murderer of my child.
The police believed that Patsy lost her temper with JonBenet in the middle of the night when she wet the bed.
It's accept in wedding. It's one of the things that's been proposed.
And that Patsy threw her against a hard surface in the bathroom, fracturing her skull. Then she got scared and she took her down to the basement and staged a crime.
I'm not smiling at I'm smiling at the thought that Tom Haney caught Patsy in something very weird. He caught her in a few videos back. We were talking about sort of the pineapple, and they were talking about the pineapple bowl. And I smiled at seeing Tom Haney's name, because I think it was Tom in, I think it was the 1998 interview when he was interviewing Patsy, and he asked her about the pineapple, and and Patsy said, "Did you lift the fingerprint? Did you lift the fingerprint from the bowl?" And they said, "We did." And he said, "Well, now let me ask you, if this, if what would you say about this fingerprint?" And Patsy would say, "Well, if it's not me, then this is the person who did this to JonBenet." And he said, "Well, what if I told you it was one of you?" And he disguised it because it was really Patsy's fingerprint. But he said, "What if it was one of you? You were either you or John." And Patsy said, "Well, it's not me. I don't know what happened." And so I'm kind of laughing at that, because he stopped her and he said, "Well, hold on now." He said, "Hold on, Patsy. Let's go with your line of logic. You just said this. Let's keep that same line of logic." And Patsy started getting defensive and said, "I don't know who did it. Basically, stop asking me."
And because she wasn't dead yet, finished her off by covered her up, then went upstairs, wrote what appeared to be a ransom note, and then at 5:30 in the morning started screaming that JonBenet was gone.
Have you heard that theory?
I've heard the cover up part. I haven't heard the wet the bed fit of rage thing.
What do you remember about JonBenet wetting in bed or wetting her pants?
And she remember she wet her bed.
What would happen when JonBenet would wet her bed? What would
Mom would change the sheet. All that stuff in bed.
Did JonBenet wet the bed?
Yeah, I mean, you know, did she wet the bed at 6? I don't remember. Maybe. I definitely remember like her and me like wetting the bed maybe a couple times a week, 2 or 3 times a week, and it's you know, and I think every kid does that, and you just have to like you know, it'd be kind of embarrassing, but parents would just clean it up.
I want to highlight something here. This is a point where their statements are consistent. Patsy said JonBenet wet the bed probably like twice a week, once or twice a week. Burke says same thing, 2 or 3 times a week. He said we both did. JonBenet did wet the bed. Now he hasn't heard any theories about wetting the bed and Patsy getting upset, but he does confirm what Patsy is saying. And not only does he confirm what Patsy is saying, he confirms the thought process in the household that this is something that just seems normal. That tracks from what John said. John said the same thing. Patsy said the same thing. And now Burke is saying the same thing. So they're all aligned on the same page there. But then he says something else that tracks and is consistent when we're talking about what do you do if JonBenet wets the bed? What do you do? And Patsy said, I would change the sheets. I would change the sheets before Linda Hoffman got there. And Burke comes right behind and says, yep, if JonBenet wet the bed, Mom would change the sheets. In the forensic reports, like I said, you already know if you watched me, there were sheets with urine on them that they pulled. And I think it was JonBenet's urine. Some had fecal, like the comfort had like a little fecal matter on it. And there was some red body fluids on it. I'll say it like that.
Police theory was that Patsy killed her daughter accidentally out of frustration.
You cannot recall a time in your life that you ever saw your mother fly into a rage.
Coming up.
Are people then and now that speculate that this woman brutally murdered her own daughter in the most ghoulish of ways that you can imagine.
Later.
Did you hit your sister over the head with a baseball bat? Had you ever violently attacked her before? Did you ever stop for that?
Now we turn to Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey.
Did your daughter have a bedwetting incident that night? Did you get up? Did you get angry? And did you hurt her?
No, I did not. I don't know what else to say. How else do you say no except no? No means no.
You cannot recall a time in your life that you ever saw your mother fly into a rage.
No.
Did you ever see her throw anything?
No.
Did you ever see her break anything in a fit of anger, smash anything down?
No.
Dishes, lamps?
No.
Throw anything at your father?
No.
She wasn't into corporal punishment. She didn't spank you all.
No,
She
we
didn't
never
hit
got.
you.
Yeah, we didn't get spanked. Just nothing of the sort. Not even close. Not to say she never got upset, but nothing near like laying a finger on us. You know, let alone killing her child.
I'm appalled that anyone would think that John or I would be involved in such a hideous, heinous crime.
Patsy had an image problem, a very big one.
I love that child.
She didn't fit the image of what people thought a grieving, innocent mother of a murdered child looks like. Patsy was composed on camera, and I think it unnerved people. Why isn't she crying? Why isn't she sobbing? Factor in that they were wealthy, well-educated. Patsy was a beauty contest winner. They had it all. When it was revealed that JonBenet was in beauty pageants at such a young age, and the ugly underbelly of that world was revealed, it didn't help. It made it easy, I think, for people to look at Patsy and go, you probably did this.
Did you go to the pageants very much?
Yeah. I mean, I remember like one of the pageant things or something. She just like would go out and just like, you know, like flaunt whatever on stage, and she wasn't shy, I guess.
Right. You feel left out of that, or was that okay with you?
No, it's totally fine. I mean, I spent a lot of time with my mom too.
Did your mother have fun with this, or was she a stage mom?
I think she had fun with it. I mean, she did pageants. She was like Miss West Virginia. So I think it was kind of a fun thing.
Was she a pushy type, or did she go with the flow?
I don't remember her being bushy at all.
Yeah. Little girls sometimes get lots of attention.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like she got all the attention?
No, it was never an issue. I mean, it's just normal to me.
I think Observe on his channel was kind of looking at that, and he made a point to kind of highlight that. And he didn't, if I remember his analysis correctly, he didn't really agree that it wasn't a problem. Even though Burke is saying it's not a problem, he didn't agree that that Burke was being truthful there in a sense, or he didn't all the way believe Burke. My concern there, when Burke says that, is he doesn't close down the sentence correctly, in my opinion. I'll show you what I mean.
Little girls sometimes get lots of attention.
Yeah.
Did you ever feel like she got all the attention?
No, it was never an issue. I mean,
so I'm asking you, do you feel like she got all of it? And instead of saying, no, she didn't get all of the attention, he says it was never an issue. Almost affirming that she did get all the attention, but it wasn't an issue. So it's there, but it wasn't an issue.
It's just normal to me.
And now it becomes normal. Let me take you back to what he just said, maybe like a minute or two ago, when we're talking about the bedwetting issues and John and Patsy, and they said it was normal. And now Burke is saying, oh, it's normal. You have to remember that these kids are wetting the bed at dang near, JonBenet is 6 when she's wetting the bed, and it's like getting worse, to where she's getting the itis. If you watch my videos, you know what I mean. She's getting the itis. She's getting itchy. She's getting rashes, and all such as that. So JonBenet it wasn't a pleasant time, obviously. And they had to have cream on hand, like, rash cream on hand to help her. Burke was also doing it. I think John was saying that Melinda was Burke's age when he was doing it. I think they were saying John Andrew did this clear when he was 7 or something like that. And they're calling that normal. It is not normal. So just because something, and my point there is that just because there is something normal to you does not mean that it's normal at all across the board.
There are people then and now still that speculate that this woman killed her own daughter, not just killed her own daughter, but brutally murdered her own daughter in the most ghoulish of ways that you can imagine.
People that think that show a profound lack of common sense. It makes me angry. I mean, Particularly makes me angry now. Patsy's gone. She has no ability to fight for her reputation. It's cruel humanity.
If I told you right now that we have trace evidence that appears to link you,
She has no ability to fight for her reputation. It's cruel humanity.
if I told you right,
Looks like she's crying. And it's interesting. I just stop it because I remember when they were, talking to her in the interview, and they were asking her about some of the pictures, and they were saying, does this, with JonBenet's pictures, and they were saying, does this bring up, memories for you? Does it, even now, does it? Because she was talking about dreams and flashbacks. I did a video on the dreams and the flashbacks, and they were asking what brings those dreams and those flashbacks on. And she was saying, well, just when I look at these pictures and stuff like that, it kind of triggers it more so now,
now that we have trace evidence that appears to link you to the death of JonBenet.
The police.
Oh my goodness. The freeze. I'm hearing Burke Freeze. He keeps, like, when they start talking around the death of JonBenet, and I heard it, I didn't say anything about it, but I heard it earlier, and he was like looking in the air or whatever, his words were going like this. But he was hesitant to kind of, it's like you start talking and then there's a pause, and then you bring in, it's like saying, I don't think my mom would do something like this. But there's a thought, like there's a contemplation in the pause. Like, you don't have your words fully formed yet. You have to think about it first, right? When they directly, you can see Patsy, when they directly ask her about it, we have trace evidence. And we center around the fact that I said, we have evidence to show that it was you. What would you say? She hesitates and she's looking at him, and it's almost the same sort of voice fluctuation. If you remember how we talked about Patsy in the Larry King interview, when she doesn't fully attack Steve Thomas, her voice always sort of gives out and becomes softer with Steve Thomas, even though he's bringing these railing accusations against her, and she is upset and she is mad, and I didn't do it. When she goes at times to, come back and sort of retort back against Steve Thomas, her voice just kind of goes out and gets soft. It's like her body goes limp. And it happened here when they look her dead in her eye and say, I think you did it. Her voice gives out again. And it's almost like
her own daughter, not just killed her own daughter, but brutally.
A profound ability to fight for her reputation. It's cruel humanity.
If I told you right now that we have trace evidence that appears to
excuse me, hold on.
told you
Particularly makes me angry now. Patsy's gone. She has no ability to fight for her reputation. It's cruel humanity.
I'm just looking at the way his eyes settled. After he said it's cruel humanity, or basically after he gets done talking about whether or not he's defending his wife, and he's talking about whether or not she could have done this. Because at first his eyes were a little animated, and then they kind of, settle down.
if I told you
And like, I'm looking specifically at how his cheeks drew up.
Humanity.
I'm sorry. You see, so look, his cheeks are down here, and there's a separation. Cheek down here is a separation between his cheeks and his eyes. And obviously he's talking and he's like, he's expressive with it. There's an expressive interaction. But it's like him saying, I can't believe people would think this. This is crazy. But it's kind of throwing me off that he's like, it's like somebody would be in a state of excitement. But then when you get done saying what you're saying, the state of excitement would not leave. It would stay. Because the sort of I want to say like kind of the inertia of the conversation, I might frame it. Let me see if I can pull. It's like, and the forward motion of the conversation that's pushing him to continue to go forward with, I want to explain. I want to explain. I want to show that my wife is innocent. But he says that, and then he rests, and he goes back into like the state changes. It's like the light bulb comes on, and it's like, oh, this is the answer. And it's computing. It's like a robot. It's computing. But when the robot's done computing, it goes like that.
Humanity.
His eyebrows dropped. And that's what it was. And now his chin is coming back up. But it's like his face is doing like this now. It's just like going back to stoic, going back to stone face. Whereas just before, his lips were like kind of pushing out, protruding a little bit, expressing, this thing with Patsy. Hey, but now he's back to,
If I told you right now that we have trace evidence that appears to link you to.
You see, she's listening. She's listening. A lot of times they'd cut the police off and they'd stop them before they finish. She's listening. She's really paying attention to him. Burke has done this where they get on a line of questioning about something and, they just sit there. Patsy or Burke just kind of sits there and looks. And Burke did it when he was they were asking about the pineapple or whatever. Commander was like, hey, what's your favorite snack? And Burke was like, he looked down and he looked back up and he was like, The death of JonBenet. You see how long she's freezing? She's not shaking. She's not doing she's not doing any of that. She's just looking at him. And I can tell you right now, there is a wave going over her. That's when they're saying it directly to her, there is a wave going over her and she is taking it all in. It's like every time somebody says that, instead of rejecting it immediately, you remember when John was like, when they were saying, some people, I think it was a recent interview. I think it was at Crime Con, and they were saying, did you do it? Did Patsy do it? And he was like, no. Patsy is not rebuffing him quickly. She's not shaking her head and already ready to answer the questions. She's not doing any of that. She's accepting it. She's receiving it. This question, if you didn't have anything to do with this, you should be rebuffing that immediately. The nonverbal should be saying, no, you guys are getting it wrong. I'm telling you. That should be the line of behavior that's happening. But Patsy, Look how relaxed she is. Her hand is in her lap. I can't exactly see what this arm is doing all the way, but she's just looking at him like it's almost like she's exhausted from fighting him. And she's just looking at him. And she, uh-oh. I don't like that. I don't like that. She kind of mumbled there. Totally impossible. She mumbled.
The police drew a bead, which means pointing their metaphorical guns at her pretty quickly. They were absolutely convinced that Patsy must be the killer.
Let me change the subject now and kind of transition back to that morning. During that time that your mother made a 911 call. Have you ever heard that 911 call?
Oh, it's been brought up a bunch of times because they think I'm on it or something.
Police investigators say that your voice was heard at the end of the 911 call. Were you there when that call was made?
Dr. Phil's exclusive interview with Burke Ramsey continues.
Few crimes in recent memory have captivated and horrified the entire nation like that involving JonBenet Ramsey. She was found murdered in her home in December 1996.
A key piece of evidence is the 911 call that Patsy Ramsey made to police at 5:52 a.m. on December 26, 1996.
Have you ever heard that 911 call?
Oh, it's been brought up a bunch of times because they think I'm on it or something.
John said,
I asked you, have you heard the call? I didn't ask you if it was brought up. I asked you if you heard the call.
Says call 911. And of course, Patsy goes and grabs the phone and calls 911. But when she hung it up, she thought she had hung it up completely. And months later, the police discovered there were other voices heard. Now, those voices have come into somewhat dispute. Some people say they hear Burke's voice, in the distance.
It was 5:52 a.m. when Patsy Ramsey made the 911 call from this wall phone in her kitchen to It was 5:52 a.m.
Just for your reference, right? Okay. Here's the phone. You can see, if you know what you're looking at, down here, you can see this is the breakfast nook right here. This little window is the breakfast nook. I think that's the grill. This is the grate down here. This area is the grate down here. This is where they're saying that the criminal, the intruder, snuck into and then snuck back out. But the thing about this is, John and Patsy mentioned that they kept an extra garage key fob right here. If this is the grill, they kept an extra garage key fob out here just in case, because they said John locked himself out a lot.
a.m. when Patsy Ramsey made the 911 call from this.
And there's a door, like literally on the other side of this wall. If you guys have watched my video, you know. So literally on the other side of this wall, this is like a small little, cubby hole right here. On the other side of this wall, there's a door right here that leads right here to this area. You go out this way and then you take a left and you're going back to the front toward 15th Street. You take a right, I think you're going back toward the garage and you're going toward 14th Street, which is the back of the house, which is where they pulled into that night, pulled into the garage and picked JonBenet up out of, her seat and took her upstairs, came through the garage back here, down this little hallway back here that's on the other side of this wall, and then went up the spiral staircase.
This wall phone in her kitchen to report her daughter was missing. Just what happened after Patsy hung up the phone has been debated in law enforcement circles. One former Boulder Police detective, Steve Thomas, believes after Patsy hung up, the phone didn't really disconnect. In his book, JonBenet, Inside the Ramsey Murder Investigation, Thomas claimed that by enhancing the tape, you could hear John and Patsy talking to their son Burke. He claims that's important because the Ramseys reportedly told police their son was asleep at the time of the call.
And we know John was down there because, we know John was down there because John was supposedly poring over the note. So he was standing right there. And my theory was John had to be there. He was standing there. He had to stand right there. The behavior says that he has to stand right there and listen. But not only John's behavior of what any normal human being would do, but John's behavior, like we were talking about, John controlling the narrative. If you're controlling the narrative, you need to be there because you need to be mouthing and giving instructions. If we believe, and it's true that John helped or dictated the ransom note or helped author the ransom note in terms of like dictation and telling different parts to put down, then and like we showed in the CNN interview when John was mouthing words to Patsy on television, it would follow the same pattern that if Patsy is on the phone, John is mouthing, he's behind the scenes mouthing to Patsy what to say. That's a little creepy. He's mouthing to Patsy what to say. He's not pouring over that note. He's mouthing. Say this, say this. And then, I'm the what? Okay, okay. And he's close to the phone and he's listening so he can hear. Either they have it on speakerphone or they don't. And he's listening. There would at least be two people right there actively listening. Not, hey, go call the police and I'll keep reading this note. There would be two people there actively listening to control the narrative.
If true, Thomas claims it suggests the family was altering their story right from the start.
Yep.
Where were you when that phone call was made?
In my bed.
How do you know?
I don't remember getting up until my dad came in there.
Was Burke in the kitchen when that 911 call was made?
No.
Where was Burke when the 911 call was made?
Well, we checked his bedroom immediately almost in all this chaos, and he was asleep in bed. That is pure fiction.
Thinking what might have happened.
Did you hear mom get talk?
Mom goes
Inside her?
like
Did you go down and see what's going on?
Just in case you don't know, he obviously directly contradicted his dad.
There was a male voice, and I knew that for sure.
Mhm.
And then there was another voice. So there were three different voices. The third one was a little bit more faint,
Mhm.
but I knew there was a third distinct different voice.
Mhm.
Was there any conversation?
This is the dispatcher. We're talking about now, think about the dispatcher. The dispatcher is probably the most important because the dispatcher is telling you she has no reason to believe anything. She doesn't know these people. But at the first point of contact, the dispatcher says, sounds like there's a male back there. John was there. So she was right. She was correct. John was back there. Now, John will tell you he wasn't talking. But Kim is saying, no, I heard him. I heard him. But she's also saying, I heard a little bit further. Because I'm saying this because these are things the Ramseys are upset that people are honing in on them and people are saying, leave them alone. Absolutely not. Because the dispatcher is hearing and she's intaking the call and she is the first line of defense. And she's hearing John. She heard a male present. She was right. You got that correct. But then she's saying, I think I hear somebody else back there. But the voice is faint. I can't really hear back there. And that's why it would be difficult to hear on this 911 call, even with enhancements, because the voice is faint. It's way back there. You can't really tell, but you can kind of hear somebody talking back there. It's like, because as a 911 operator, it's like your ears are listening, but you're typing things up and you're not expecting to hear anything. But if you hear something, you're like, okay, I'm just kind of taking in. And that's the beauty about sort of like your auditory senses, is that you're kind of hearing things way in the background, and your ears become like, when you hear for like sort of like a living, when you do this for a living and you hear for a living, you can eat like in these kind of professions, like if you're an audio engineer, whatever, your ears are trained to hear the slightest changes in things. And so sometimes people who are in these professions can hear better than, than the norm or the average person. You hear dogs. Dogs can hear, better than all of us. Dogs have, better senses. I was reading where one lady was saying that her dog knew she was pregnant before she did, because he started pawing at her belly and stuff like that. But Kim is so central to this because from the very beginning, she said something was wrong. And I just, the whole thing felt off to me. This is important because from the very beginning, the police are saying, they have been saying, something is wrong. Something's not right. I don't know about this. But even when the police felt like something was wrong, they still treated it like a kidnapping.
Former police investigators with the Boulder Police Department, Detective Steve Thomas and Chief of Police Mark Beckner, both say there was a voice at the end of the 911 call, and that your voice was heard saying, "What did you find?" Did you speak those words?
No.
Were you there when that call was made?
No.
So you were not there and you did not speak those words.
That's correct.
It's also been speculated that
I don't like how these are times of truth where he's looking at Dr. Phil and then he's looking down. He's looking at him and he's looking down and looking away. I don't like that.
That your father can be heard yelling, "We're not speaking to you."
Definitely don't remember that. I don't know, unless someone erased my memory or something. Like,
Well, a 911 call with your mother hysterical about your sister being kidnapped would seem to me to be a standout experience in one's life. I wouldn't think that would fade into the background.
no, absolutely not. I mean, that's something pretty big that I wouldn't remember. So I wasn't there.
Dr. Phil just got really serious and Burke was playing. Burke was playing around. He was laughing and joking. And Dr. Phil got serious and now Burke got serious.
So you can say with absolute certainty that is not your voice on that 911 tape.
Absolutely not.
And he looked down again.
You went to see a child psychologist. You recall that?
Coming up.
Nobody in the world has seen this before. This was 13 days after JonBenet's birth.
I'm going to stop it right there because I think that's a pretty good place to stop it. But that's kind of, we'll continue. But yeah, appreciate you showing up. Like, share, subscribe. Appreciate the love from everyone. Just, trying to be cordial, in the comments, stuff like that. I know you guys don't always agree, but, just being cordial and stuff like that and showing respect. Everybody has difference of opinions and stuff like that. I'm just saying generally. So, be respectful of people. Everybody has their difference of opinions, but doesn't cost you anything to be respectful. So, and I'm not talking about any specific instance. I'm just saying in general. Sometimes people get on. I've seen, just on another platform. Sometimes people get on social media and they just they just talk crazy, you know. But anyways, I appreciate you watching, and let me know what you think in the comments. And until next time, take it easy.